Wow, that's a lot of people subscribing to this channel. Thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. This is genuinely amazing. I started writing this video like a few hours before I hit 2,000 subscribers because I didn't think I was going to hit it that day. But people just really loved that grass touching videos. And as of recording, I'm now at 2,500 subscribers. So to celebrate, I'm finally going to give one of my favorite characters his own dedicated video. That character, of course, being Captain Laramie Barriga of the Off Colors from Steven Universe. I've been joking about how much I love this dude in most of my videos ever since I reviewed Steven Universe Season 4. Also, at this point, I'm starting to notice that Lars, he's kind of hot, not gonna lie. It was all downhill from there. Now, while I joke about being in love with him, I genuinely think he's an amazingly written character, with an incredible arc and in-depth personality. So let's talk about him. Who he is, who he portrays himself as, his relationships, and the journey he goes on across the show. Part 1. I couldn't think of actual subtitles for the two parts I was splitting this video into because I'm dumb, but I still wanted to have two parts because I think there's a notable shift in Lars' character in Season 4. But then again, I guess I could just add this really long tangent as a subtitle to the first part, so now I don't have to think of one. Yippee! Lars is one of the first characters we meet in the show. He and Sadie appear even before Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, and they're the only characters outside of the main four who appeared in the original pilot. Being two of the first characters we meet, he and Sadie are the most important of the Beach City characters in the show. And this is where we get to my first point. He's a human, and for the most part of the series, he is just a normal human, with his own life, job, relationships, and everything else that comes with it. Completely separate from all this crazy gem stuff. And you could say that about all the Beach City characters. So why is Lars different? It's his arc. Sadie is really the only other human to have a series-wide arc, but comparing Sadie in Season 1 to Sadie in Future, she hasn't really changed that much drastically. She's much more open about her feelings and more open to expressing herself through her music, but in terms of her personality, she's pretty much the same. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but Lars has significant growth in how he acts. When he's introduced, he comes across as just a dickhead who finds Steven annoying and doesn't take his job seriously, which is in stark contrast to Sadie, who while isn't super passionate about selling donuts, she's still trying to make it work for both her and Lars. She's shown as a lot kinder, letting Steven keep the cookie cat freezer, and actually trying to help Steven and Connie out of Steven's bubble, while Lars just acts immature. This is something I just realized while writing out the script, but I think this scene is actually pretty interesting. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I wonder if Lars' teasing, calling Connie Steven's girlfriend, is in some way him projecting about how Steven always acts obsessed with Lars and Sadie's relationship. That's just a little thought I got while writing this. Interesting to think about. And I think that actually leads pretty well into my next point. That being how Lars cares deeply about how he's perceived by others. He acts like a tough guy, but we slowly start seeing other sides to him. In Tiger Millionaire, we learn he likes watching wrestling, and it's the first time we see him be genuinely really happy, proving he isn't always just a grump. And then in his first major role in Lars and the Cool Kids, we really start to learn about his insecurities, done through comparing how he and Steven interact with Buck, Jenny, and Sour Cream. Steven just acts like himself, and they all immediately take a liking to him. But Lars tries to put on a fake persona, and...
Hey, check out my shirt!
Oh, that snake is nasty.
Oh, yeah, I hate snakes!
Oh, what? That's too bad. Some snakes are pretty cool.
Yeah, this episode was a pretty important moment for him, where his arc about being more open about himself would begin. It's also notable for this being when Lars starts to really learn about Steven's mum and the gems in general, which would become vital to his character by Season 5. Another scene in this episode that I think is really important is when Steven blows up with anger at him. Seeing the usually cheery, happy Steven get mad like this would really stick with him, and make him really think about how he's been treating Steven and everyone else. Also, this scene was the first time we see him touch grass, and yes, this is grass! I got so many comments on the grass touching video saying that this was moss. It's not, it's grass. The moss was in the water, shut up! The next major episode in Lars' development, Joking Victim, doesn't even really feature him that much, and mainly focuses on Sadie. It's through her conversations with Steven that we learn about the real Lars. The Lars he was trying to hide in Lars and the Cool Kids. One of my favorite little bits of dialogue is when Sadie is showing Steven the break room and mentions that Lars would sometimes cover for her so she could watch TV back there, in contrast to his behavior earlier in the episode where he dumps all his work on Sadie, likely since Steven was present, showing how he's a lot more comfortable being open when he's alone with Sadie. They haven't really been shown to have a relationship beyond work colleagues yet, but this episode really delves into how close they've gotten in the past, to a point where it seems like it was more than just a friendship or even just a simple romance.
When I got to his house, I saw he cleaned up his room a little, and he got a big box of oyster crackers. They're my favorite. He let me be his player too, and we spent the whole night together.
That really is nice. Must have been one great video game.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe.
Yeah, obviously Steven Universe is a kids show, and Steven is 13 years old, so Sadie obviously wouldn't just say, yeah, Lars and I had sex. But I think Sadie's reaction here is pretty telling, and it's not just one of those little jokes that goes over kids' heads. It's a lot more clear by the end of the episode in a scene that's much more serious and not a joke.
That night, I really thought, player two, is that just your way of saying I could have been anyone?
Like, I'm sorry, nobody talks about playing video games like this. Plus, the way they act in Island Adventure definitely feels like this isn't their first time being very physically intimate. And both of these episodes are great for showing how that both Lars and Sadie are capable of doing bad. Yeah, Lars was a dick, but did that really justify Sadie giving him the fire salt donut or stranding him on Mask Island with her and Steven? Well, there isn't really a correct answer, and that's what I like. We think of Sadie as a good person despite her bad actions, so that means Lars could also be good despite his own bad actions. And in Island Adventure, we actually start seeing more of the other side of him, and not just hearing about it from Sadie. We see him be happy spending time with Sadie and even Steven. We learn more about him, like how he can cook.
You can really cook.
I want one of you to use this as a reaction video on Twitter. And hey, Lars cooking! Something that would get explored even later on, even leading to him opening his own shop. But what I think is really important about this episode is how it ends without a resolution. Because at the end of the day, Steven Universe is about life. In the movie, Steven learns that happily ever after doesn't last forever, and the opposite is also true. Lars and Sadie's relationship may be in the mud now, and this episode ends on a down note. But that doesn't mean it'll be like that forever. After this, I don't have too much to say for a while. I already talked about Horror Club in its own dedicated video, but that's a nice episode about his insecurities and fears and how he's perceived. He and Sadie make various small appearances where we get little glimpses of their relationship, but nothing too in-depth, since they don't really interact with Steven, and he's the character who the show is framed around. A lot happens outside of Steven's life, so getting these little glimpses is really nice. The only other episode I have much to say about in this first part of the video is the new Lars. Despite him not really appearing much since it's just Steven in his body, I think it's one of the most important episodes for his arc. Him learning that everyone likes Steven more than him was a serious turning point. He gets mad in the moment, but seeing the effects of how if he changed his actions it would make people like him more definitely helped motivate him to be a better person. We also meet his parents, Martha and Dante, in this, and I don't really have much to say about them except they're cool. Anyway, part 2. Well, I guess I should make another really long drawn out title for this, but that would be really boring, so I'm just gonna say PING! Okay, that's a bit misleading since we've still got 2 big appearances before the episode where he goes pink. Starting with the good Lars. This scene is really cool, but it's not really noticeable until next season. But for now,
Bingo bongo.
is just a really cool line. Don't believe me? Well, take it up with Buck Dewey, the CEO of Cool, who agrees with me. Anyway, this episode shows a lot of subtle growth in Lars. We get to see more of his talent for cooking that we got in Island Adventure, now learning that he specifically loves baking. But what I think is really important is how he's now way more willing to be himself around Steven. He lets Steven hang out with him at his home even even after Sadie has left, and he even gave Steven his phone number some point off screen. This new respect he's developed for Steven over the course of the show is vital for season 5. But before that, his self-conscious issues prevent him from going to the potluck, and this would lead to both him and Sadie discovering their true passions, rather than just selling donuts. Sure, we've known about Sadie's passions for singing for a while now, and even though Sadie Killer and the Suspects eventually broke up, Sadie would still continue her musical career with Shep. But this video is about Lars. From this point on, I'm kind of just going off notes. I think this is when I really start to really love Lars, so I'm just kind of going off the notes I wrote down while rewatching these episodes. Stuck Together is really awesome. When I said that his new respect for Steven was vital to this season, this is what I was talking about. Cause it's a lot more than just respecting Steven. He now looks up to Steven. He sees himself as just a wuss, a coward, someone that nobody really likes. But Steven is super brave and strong, and he admires that. But just like Lars, Steven has also been putting on a fake persona. Sure, he may come across as not scared and he's trying his best to be brave, but he's still terrified of what's going to happen to him. And this wonderful conversation they have together while stuck inside of Topaz helps Lars to deal with his fears and learning that it's okay to be afraid and it's okay to just be himself. And season 1, Lars absolutely wouldn't have listened to Steven here and wouldn't have taken that advice. But because of that new respect he's been developing for him over the course of the series, he does take it and it changes him for the better. This isn't super relevant to his story, but I do think it's worth noting that as far as we know, Lars is the first non-gem being to ever come to Homeworld, and one of the only 2 alongside Connie. He doesn't really do anything in the trial except get made fun of by the Diamonds. But after that, the off-colors. Fuck yes! I love the off-colors so goddamn much. It's actually kind of insane how much I have brain rot for these goobers. The Brutal Twins, Rhodonite, Paparazza, Fluorites, they're all so incredibly awesome. And I love how unique they all are. They're all looked down upon in gem society for different reasons. And at the moment, they all still look down upon themselves. They feel shameful for who they are. They don't like being who they are. Just like Lars. But unfortunately, they simply don't live in a world that would accept them. And that's what makes him so perfect for them. So after all Lars has been through, he realizes what he needs to do to finally just let himself be the good person that he is and help bring the off-colors to Earth where they can finally just be themselves without judgment. And through Steven's influence, he is still afraid, but he doesn't let that fear stop him from doing the right thing. He uses the fact that he's not a gem to save them from the Robonoids trying to scan for their gems. Actually, I take back what I said. Actually, him being the first non-gem on Homeworld is actually kind of really important. I don't know why I said that. And then he dies. This is one of the most beautiful scenes in the whole show to me. Because in this moment, Lars isn't just literally reborn, but he is metaphorically reborn. His old self about hiding away behind that mask is dead, and he is born again as a much more confident and open person, willing to help those close to him. So much so that he's completely okay with just letting the off-colors go back to Earth and just leaving himself behind alone in the kindergarten. But thankfully, like Lars, the off-colors show compassion, and since he's not a gem, he can help them get off Homeworld. It may take them quite a while to get back, but it will eventually lead to all of them being where they belong. And even his skin turning pink is important because now he himself is literally off-colored. And okay, I can't hold it in anymore. God, he's so fucking hot. I need him so bad! Okay, I'm gonna sound crazy, but I think Lars of the Stars is one of my favorite episodes of the show. I'm not joking. I forgot how much I loved this episode. When I was rewatching it for this video, I just had the biggest fucking smile on my face. It was actually kind of insane. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because I wasn't watching all the episodes of the series. I went straight from Lars's head to Lars of the Stars. Lars. So I just got back-to-back Lars, and then seeing this massive change up just made me just be like, oh, he's so cool! Oh, and Emerald is such a fun character. I love Jinx Monsoon's performance. This whole sequence just fills me with so much pure fucking happiness and joy. And dude, I need an off-color spin-off so bad. I've made like 2 videos about it, but I need to make a 3rd one because holy shit, there is so much amazing potential here. And then when he goes all bingo bongo and then boom, zips away. Hell yes. That's what I was talking about when I said that the bingo bongo line was really important for later on. Because back then in season 4, he was really nervous about it and was like, it's cringe. Why did I say that? But now he's just being unashamedly cringe. And that's what you all need to do. Be cringe. Just be yourself. If being cringe is who you are, then be fucking cringe. I am so happy right now just thinking about this episode. It is so amazing. I don't even have a script. I'm just going off. My brain is losing itself and oh my god. And I'm so happy, but someone else who's really happy is Sadie, who's been really happy with her life ever since, well, since Lars left it. Not because she hates him, but because people are just always changing. She didn't do any of this to get back at Lars or anything, just like how Lars isn't doing anything he's been doing to get back at Sadie. His self-consciousness issues still being present ties back to my point about how Steven Universe is about life, and life just keeps going. Life will never be perfect, and that's okay. He has his own life now, just like Sadie does. And sure, they'll always be friends, but they need to move on to their own callings in life. And then right after Stevonnie snaps him back to reality, he just goes full back to being so f***ing cool! How he just purposely orders Rhodonite to turn off the shields just so he can be a massive show-off to Emerald and proving how much of a fraud she is. It just gave me the biggest f***ing smile ever. Oh, I'm so happy! And after this, it's just life. Like I said, life goes on. He and the off-colors continue back to Earth, they start living their lives, and eventually they take it back and go back to the stars, and then we don't know what's next. Maybe they'll go around to old gem colonies, helping them rebuild after the reign of the diamonds has ended. Maybe they'll go even further into space, discovering non-gem related planets. Who knows? Lars is just so cool. You don't see everything that goes on in his life, but that's kind of why I love him so much, because, like I said, the show is about Steven's life. I love the way Sadie's and especially Lars's lives are explored through these small glimpses that Steven gets into them. And man, look, I've always been really bad at conclusions to these videos, and like I said, I haven't even written anything down for this. So yeah, I guess that's probably the end of the video then, I guess. I just wanted to talk about why I love Lars so much. So I guess, yeah. Other than that, like and subscribe to make me do the smiley, and I will see you later.